everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bass Predator TV. Jake Heath here, my brother Luke. Today we want to do a little something special for you guys. Let's talk about one of our favorite bite-getting baits, one of the best baits we had for us in 2018, and that is none other than the bait that's been taking the world by storm, the Ned Rig. Specifically, our favorite one is the ZMan TRD Finesse one.
Turd rig.
Yep, turd rig. Looks like a turd. But we did really well on this bait this year. Luke especially became one of his go-tos. I want to talk to you about why this bait is just, when nothing else is working, put one of these in your hand, throw it, why it's so easy to fish, why it was so successful, why it took the market by storm. So let's hit the water today, show you how we fish these things, and we catch some pretty dang big fish along the way. Let's go.
Oh, hey there, bud.
Hey, bud.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big fish. That is a big one. He's not huge, but he's a wallower is what he is. Whoa. He's a wallowing smallmouth. Oh, he's still jumping in the cold water. Put a landing chair. Choked it. See what we got there.
With some pee.
Let's see what you got there, buddy.
Oh, that's a smallmouth on the Ned.
Oh, the little Ned.
On the baby Ned.
Let's see him.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Thought he was bigger. He was wallowing. Usually the big wallowers can't jump, but that's another nice one. Ned Rig, we were trying the cranks. Crankbait wasn't working like it was last week, so we got no wind. So we slowed down to the Neds. 3 pretty quick smallies. Let's get him back and get another.
All right, so Luke and I have been throwing the Ned Rigs today. And if you don't know what the Ned Rig is, all it is a mushroom head jig and a tiny little 3-inch, basically a piece of Cinco, but TRD made the, Z-Man made the TRD one that floats, so that's kind of taken the market by storm, so that's the most popular one. But what we do is anytime the bite gets tough, especially in cold weather right now, it's, you know, high 30s, 40 degrees, water temps 41. And last week we were slaying them cranking. Well, they're not chewing the crankbaits up, so you come through with the Ned Rig. And all I do with this bait is you can't even really work it wrong. Cast it out, let it sink all the way to the bottom, and then I just slowly hop it back to the boat. Most of the time I'm just dragging that thing. And a lot of times for a heavy current, some guys will just slow reel it, so just click on the bottom, but most of the time, cast that thing out, let it hit the bottom of the lake, and then just drag it on back. Count rocks with it. You can't fish it too slow, that's the deal.
So something to think about, guys, when you're looking at getting into Ned Rig fishing is what jig head do I use? What size head do I use? Because there's a lot of options out there. But for me, I try to keep it simple, right? You've got really 3 different shapes you're going to use. You're going to use what's called a mushroom-shaped head, which is going to be something like that, right? It has that mushroom top and that flat bottom. That's the standard, most versatile one everyone uses for Ned Rig. They also have your ball heads, right? And that's just your round, ball-shaped heads. And then as of late, you know, they've come out with those football-shaped heads, right? Those are almost more oval-shaped. And they each have their own purpose, right? But that mushroom's going to be your most versatile, right? You're going to be able to throw that one around rocks, grass, a little bit of sparser wood, things of that nature, sand, rubble, whatever. That ball head is going to be a lot better around, you know, rock, or if you're swimming that thing a little bit more, it's going to allow you to kick a little and roll over stuff. And then if you get in some really nasty boulders, like on the lacs or something, fishing smallies, you got, or a river, a lot of current, a lot of boulders to get stuck in, that's when I switch to the football-shaped head one, because it just rolls over really nicely, doesn't get snagged, doesn't get wedged under rocks, it's good. So think about that as the shape of head you want, base it on the structure that you're fishing. But if you want to keep it simple, right, I'm getting into Ned Rig fishing, start with the mushroom head and expand from there as you get more comfortable with using the lure. So for us, the favorite bait to put on the Ned Rig, also known as the Jig Worm, is the ZMan TRD. They make a bunch of different baits in these. They make, you know, the TRDs comes in a 4 or 5, and then this little 2.75-inch size. For Luke, his favorite is the little guy, the Finesse TRD, the 2.75-inch size.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the 2.75 for sure, just because it's this looks like anything that swims in the water, and it's a pure bite getter for all freaking species. I mean, you can catch pike on it, you can catch bass on it, all sorts of bass.
Crappies?
Bluegills, crappies, and pretty much
Yeah, you name
anything,
it.
but obviously we're targeting bass.
Looks like crawfish going on the bottom, looks like a bait fish going on the bottom, looks like anything. It's so good because it's so easy to eat, so easy to throw. It's a dumb man's bait. Just cast it out, let it sit. The less you do, the better it is. So that's why it's such a good bait and so unique. And what's unique about the ZMan ones in specific, take one out here, is they're super stretchy. I mean, you can stretch these things to a whole foot. So you can put one of these on, and I literally caught 80 plus smallmouth in one day on this thing, on the same bait, and I still have that same bait rigged up on a rod, and it's perfectly fine.
The rig up on this thing is super simple. I mean, literally you're just going to run it, thread it through like you would a swim bait or anything else on an exposed jig head like this. So there is a top and a bottom to these baits. The bottom has the like dots, and it's kind of stipply part, and you actually see it's more curved and round off the side, and the top is more chopped off. So that's the side you want to start on. Go right down the middle. Go up about an inch. Pop it out and thread it up on the back. So it should look somewhat a little like that. These things are great. I mean, they're super, super stretchy. So one of these should last you pretty much all day as well.
One of the tricks that I do personally is this right here, super glue. When you put it on the jig head, like Luke showed you earlier, take a little bit of super glue, just a tiny drop, one drop right in the head and push it all the way up. It will literally stay latched on that jig head all day long. You'll never have to take it off. You'll catch 100 fish in one day on it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Nice hook set. What did you get him on? Shaky head? You might have to slow down today. Oh, you forgot the net again.
Oh shit!
What'd you do?
It's a big one.
I know.
It's a really big one.
Dude, you forgot the net again.
Oh, dude.
Oh, it's huge.
Oh, dude, it's huge.
Lift you straight up. God dang.
This has got to be that one that we just had.
That's the one I just had on for sure. That's the size of it. It was huge.
Get him.
He's not ready yet.
Just drag this loose. Drag by the boat.
It's giant. Nice. He's a derp. He's a big derp. He's a big dumb derp. Yes.
Oh, he was hooked well on that.
I think
Ned
that's
rig,
the one
man.
that I had on.
That could have been the one following or the one we had on.
It had to be.
But yeah, man, I caught him on the Ned Rig.
Ned Rig.
Pitched him up right by that tree.
We got
Little
two
Ned
nips
rig,
on the
chartreuse
cranks.
Little Ned Rig.
The slowdown was
I
the
think
key.
we had to slow down because they kept following it. Jake lost one, but they followed it, so we had to change something. But that's a really, really good spot. It's probably a 4.5 pounder, maybe.
It's a nice one.
Yeah. All right. Let's get a picture.
Look at
of
his
this
derp
thing.
nose.
Let's get a derp. Yeah.
He's got a little derp nose there. Hello, derpy.
Big fall smallies.
Yeah, bud.
All right.
Nice
Let's
chunky.
let her go. Let's let the big small derp.
See you later, derp.
So here's the rig up I've been using for this Ned rig. You can use pretty much anything between a 6.6 action, 6.6 length rod all the way up to 7.3. I use them from anywhere in between there. This one actually right here is a 6.8. But I use 10 pound, I always like braid. Braid always on a spinning rod. 10 pound Suffix 832 up to an 8 pound fluorocarbon leader. And then for weight size on your actual jig head, this one's a 1/16 ounce ZMan. I go up anywhere between a 1/8, and then if it's deep water, I'll even use a quarter at times. But I like to go lighter more than anything. It gives it that action where it falls kind of weird and bizarre like that. But I like the chartreuse in this color water because I think it just makes it stick out. And this color bait is called Canada Craw. They chew it up here in Minnesota. Obviously we're not in Canada, but we're close to it. But I think it's just a good bait fishy, crawfish. This thing imitates just pretty much anything that's this size in the water together.
This I would have to say is the most critical part to the Ned rig would be the jig head, but more so the weight of the jig head. I always go with the lightest one I can get away with. So I prefer to use a 1/16 or even a 3/32 most of the time. Right? I'm finesse. I want that to fall really slow. You get a lot of bites on the fall. When it's on the bottom, I just want to barely be moving it. I want the wind to naturally move it some, I want the current to naturally move it some. So I want that light jig head. It gets me more bites. There's times though when I'll go up to the heavier jig head, right? So I'm typically starting with a 1/16, very small. That's what I want to start. But let's say it's really windy. You know, I can't fish the 1/16. The bite for some reason is still tough. It's cold out there. That's when I'll just start to go up. Fish the lightest weight you can get away with. You know, I'll go up to a 3/16 sometimes if it's real windy out or I'm fishing really deep. You know, and then there's rare times, very rare times, let's say you're out there on Mille Lacs or a big lake, or even if you're out on the West Coast fishing some of those windy lakes, or down in Texas, Rayburn, Toledo, it's really windy and rough, and the bite's tough still. You go up, you know, they're deep in the summer or the winter, you go up to that really heavy head, you know, you go up to a 1/4 or 3/8 just to keep it down there. You're just keeping that bait on the bottom, not moving it much, and just letting it, you know, slowly drag on the bottom. But just think about the weather and the conditions that you're in. Start with the lightest, or fish the lightest head you can always get away with. You're going to get the most bites doing it that way. Last but not least, guys, is you don't have to only use the ZMan TRD, you know, worms. They're great. I like them. They're my favorite one to use personally. That's what the market is using a ton of. But you can, you know, you're getting into this, you don't want to go out and buy new baits, you can use anything. That's what I like about this. When I first learned to throw this, you can take the ends of a lot of your baits that you're done with. You know, I got a whole box of them here, just old plastics that I don't use anymore, and I'll come through the ones that have the good back 3/4 of them are still perfectly fine. I'll just come in, take a pair of scissors, you know, just snip those baits down to about the same size as that TRD. You can look right there, and I'll use that. This is just a Fat Baby, a Strike King Fat Baby Finesse, right? You rig that up on there. It gives you that same finesse approach, right? It's just that straight tail, easy meal to eat, stands up on the bottom. Same concept though, you just rig that stuff straight on there. It's just your most classic old school way of fishing, just a jig worm. You just rig the bait straight on there. And that's a good looking meal too, you know? But there's a lot of options. Sometimes they don't want the straight tail, you know? Zoom trick worm, back 3/4 of that, super finesse. There's times when they're really munching craws, you know, and I'll Ned Rig a craw on there. That's a really good bait for smallies on the river especially, you know. My buddy Travis uses a Ned Rig a ton, but he almost exclusively uses a little 3.5, 4-inch tube on there. It's his go-to. Another great option, you know. But just any of your straight tail, this is an Exo stick, right? And this is one of your clear colors, look like a minnow cut down, you know, about an inch or two off there. Rig that straight up on there. But get creative with it. You really can't go wrong. Start with your straight tails, but try to match the hatchet that's down there, but you're just fishing something small. So a lot of options when you're getting into Ned Rig fishing. I'm telling you, this is a great beginner bait and expert bait. Get out there and just throw this bait. You can't fish it wrong, and just tell yourself when you're fishing it, start light, and you can't fish it too slow. Hope this helps you guys. Get out there on the water, catch a bunch more fish.